Super Smash Bros., one of the biggest crossover games of all time, and also one of the biggest Nintendo multiplayer series of all time. Smash Bros. Is one of those games that everyone played at once in their lives. I mean, hell, this is probably the game that introduced you to certain series like Star Fox, Fire Emblem, or F-Zero. For as big as Smash Bros. Has become to these days, in fact, Smash Ultimate is probably the biggest crossover video game series of all time. Originally, it was just a simple crossover game with certain Nintendo characters, and that's pretty much it. So I thought it'd be fun to take a look back at Super Smash Bros. 64, and talk about the rest of the Smash Bros. Series as the months goes on. But before we do so, I think it's time to look at the development history for Smash 64 because it's pretty interesting. So as we all know, Smash Bros. Was developed by Masahiro Sakurai, the creator of the Kirby series. After developing Kirby Superstar for the SNES, the N64 was on the arrival, so they decided to go to the next console and try something new. Sakurai was very interested in developing a fighting game that could be used for 4-player multiplayer. Not just that, but also a fighting game that could be played by anyone. This is the same ideal that Sakurai had when he was developing the Kirby series. However, at the time, Sakurai felt like making a fighting game with a new original IP wouldn't sell too well. So he came up with the idea of why not having Nintendo All-Star characters coming together to duke it out. Not sure if Nintendo would accept the idea on paper, he decides to make his own prototype in secret to see if that could get their approval. Once the prototype was complete, Nintendo approved, and thus Super Smash Bros. Was made, and one of the biggest fighting game series of all time was born. And of course, I gotta show this commercial.
Something's gone wrong in the happy-go-lucky world of Nintendo. Introducing Super Smash Bros., where all your favorite characters go toe-to-toe in one 4-player star-studded slam fest, only on Nintendo 64.
But anyway, so with everything on the way, let's get started. So when you start the game, you'll show us this little cutscene of a disembodied hand picking toys out of a toy chest and putting them on the desk. That's because this is pretty much the story reasoning why all these Nintendo characters are coming together to fight. They're pretty much just toys. As when the hand snaps its fingers, the toys come to life, and then this cool little cutscene that shows all the characters coming together to duke it out. So with Smash Bros., when you start the game, you have about 8 characters to play as. Mario, Donkey Kong, Link, Samus, Yoshi, Kirby, Fox, and Pikachu. Plus, there's 4 additional unlockable characters in this game, such as Luigi, Ness from Earthbound, Captain Falcon, and Jigglypuff. You know, funniest thing is that for years, during the Brawl days, I thought Jigglypuff was a Kirby character because how similar they look. Although it kinda makes sense why she's been added into Smash over the years, because she's pretty much very similar to Kirby, so it doesn't take too much time development-wise. But anyway, so as for the gameplay. You all know what Smash gameplay is like, but just bear with me so I can just say this and get it over with real quick. So Smash Bros. This is not necessarily a regular fighting game, as there's no health bar, for example, and there's a bit of an emphasis on platforming. Instead of a health bar, you have a percentage meter. The higher the percentage meter is, the more you'll go flying. You have a variety amount of things you can do to knock people off the stage, like using a simple jab move or a special move, or you can use grab, shield, or use the various items throughout the stage. And speaking of the stages, there's about 9 stages throughout the game. Peach's Castle is the first one, and it's a pretty simple one. There's a little treadmill area, and there's a little light platforming area where you can duke it out on. The weirdest thing I never got is like this weird bumper that's just floating in the air in Peach's Castle. I never really understood that. And also, why is this called Peach's Castle when clearly Peach's Castle is in the background, and this is clearly too small for Peach's Castle? It's just a simple platforming section for this game. Konga Jungle is another great one, where it's pretty much a replication of Donkey Kong Country. When it comes to the Metroid series of stages in Smash, a lot of them follow the same suit of being the most dangerous one, as there's a bunch of hazards coming at you. And Planet Zebes is no exception, as you're fighting in this platforming area, a giant geyser is rising up in the bottom. Hyrule Castle is the largest area of the game, as there's a bunch of areas you can fight on, and it's probably the best for a 4-player multiplayer. And while I think Hyrule Castle is the best for a 4-player multiplayer, I think Dreamland is the best for 1v1s. Since its design is very simple, it's great for just competitive multiplayer. Same with Sector C, since there's no platforming area besides the back of the stage, it's very good for 1v1s. Yoshi's Island is my favorite one since it has a neat emphasis on elevation and such, and it has a really nice aesthetic. Saffron City is a really cool one as you're duking it out on top of the buildings from Pokemon. And last but not least, Mushroom Kingdom. This is the only unlockable stage in the game, and it's a recreation of Mario Bros. For the NES. Overall, the stage selection in this game is surprisingly really solid for the first outing. Like, literally most of these stages hold up really well, which is honestly interesting because usually when it comes to stuff like this, the first entry usually kind of ages the worst. But for the stages in Smash 64, no, they hold up really well. Even when you're playing them in Smash Ultimate, they're just pretty fun. And graphically and aesthetically, this game is pretty nice looking. Obviously, it's not going to hold a candle against something like Smash Ultimate, which is a game that released in 2018, but for what it is, aesthetically, it looks pretty nice. This is the only time where Smash Bros. Had like a slapstick-like feel to it. The later games try to go for a more rigidly serious look, but it honestly makes this game stand out stylistically. However, there is just one big thing that I do feel like this game aged very badly, which is the controls. I'll just say this, I'm a bit too used to playing the later Smash games as control scheme, but this game just feels a bit too stiff for my taste. Especially with the jumping, it just never feels very right. But honestly, if you get a good grip of the controls, this game honestly holds up pretty well. And last but not least, let's talk about the single player campaign. So in this mode, you're going through a small gauntlet of fighters and trying to defeat them. This could be something very simple like 1v1s, or going through various teams like a herd of Yoshis or Kirbys. There is also various mini challenges you can do like break the target, race to the end, and board the platforms. A lot of these challenges are great, especially break the target, where they have different types of break the targets for different characters, which obviously gives each of the challenge a different feel. And lastly, as you go through the end, you'll fight off Master Hand, the main villain of the Smash Bros. Series. Here, he has a health bar that you need to attack to deplete. And that's pretty much it for Super Smash Bros. This game is very simple going back to, especially with the later games having a lot more variety in modes and such. But honestly, I feel like this is a game that people should try, even though there's better options out there like Smash Bros. Ultimate. Or, recently, you can play the various ROM hacks for Smash 64, and they are pretty good. All I can say is that if you're very curious of playing Smash Bros. For 64, try Smash Bros. Remix. It's pretty much Smash 64, but adds a lot more. New options, new characters, and especially brand new stages. It's pretty much like a blend of some of the new characters from Melee and some of the new characters from Brawl, with some characters who haven't been in Smash Bros. Altogether. They even do some crazy-ass ideas, like the freaking Mad Piano from Super Mario 64. And also what's even cooler is that they have custom art that replicates the old artwork from Smash 64, which is very cool and it's very authentic. And even in model, the animations and everything just feels very authentic, like it's an actual N64 game. I really love how Bowser looks in this game. He has his Mario 64 design and it works so well. Sonic, he works so well. He's pretty much like an effective blend of his Dreamcast and old Genesis design. And the stage selection in this game is so freaking impressive. There's over 70 freaking unique stages in this game. And the best part too is that since there's a limited amount of series in this kind of ROM hack, that means they can go all out with the different kinds of settings they can do. And even some of the stages in this game, I'm kind of surprised that they haven't done before, like a Castle Deity stage from Kirby. They have Mario Kart 64 Rainbow Road, they have Paint Mario 64 Goomba Road. They even have the DLC stages from Smash Ultimate like Spiral Mountain and Mementos in Persona 5, and I never thought of remixing Last Surprise from Persona 5 with N64 instruments, and I recommend listening to it because it is honestly a total bop. And the cool factor of this ROM hack doesn't end there. They have 3 different Sonic levels in this game, where one of them is being Casino Night Zone, and the remix in this game is a total bop. They also have a Bowser's Castle stage in this game. And it's no ordinary Bowser's Castle stage, because it's the one that's from Super Mario RPG.
Super Mario RPG.
They even have a freaking Mario Party stage in this game. Holy crap, this ROM hack is so cool! All I can say is that you should really play this ROM hack. It is really good. It pretty much preserves the original content from Super Smash Bros. 64 while adding a lot more to it, making this the definitive way to play Super Smash Bros. 64. However, if you're not interested and just want to play the original is still pretty fun to play. While it is pretty dated control-wise, it is honestly still kind of fun, especially with different people playing. And the best part is that it gets better from here as we go on to different Smash Bros. Games. And this game pretty much led to bigger games. So yeah, I highly recommend trying it out. But we're also almost in July. I only have one more video cooking up right now, but after that, it's time for the next marathon. But that'll do for today, so thank you for watching and I'll see you later. Bye bye.